And now it's time for Guerilla, a Roundup. They'll let you know what happened overnight when things transpire whilst you sleep. Right there in the loop you keep.
So welcome to the summary from the final day, as it turned out, the fourth day of the third Ashes Test from Headingley. And I'm particularly delighted to be joined today by David Brook on his debut with us. Welcome, David.
I had a couple of rain breaks that I was due for earlier in this series. Whenever I came on, it was raining. So it's only
Yeah.
debut in this series. Oh, debut in the close of play. Yes, debut in the close of play.
That's correct. Okay, what I'll do first is just briefly summarise the scorecard for today. England started the day on 27 for no wicket, chasing a total of 251 to win. And in the course of the day, I will just go through the scorecard. Crawley was out for 44, Duckett for 23, Moeen for 5, Joe Root 21, Harry Brook an excellent 75, Ben Stokes 13, Johnny Bairstow 5, Chris Wokes a really useful 32, Mark Wood also useful 16, and England ended the day at 254 for 7, winning by 7 wickets, despite some
By
3 wickets, despite shredded fingernails all over the place. The Australian bowlers, Mitchell Starc took 5 wickets and bowled beautifully. Cummings took 1 and Mitchell Marsh took 1. Boland and Murphy didn't take a wicket. So the Ashes are still alive, David. What's your feeling about what happened today?
Well, a huge relief, isn't it, that the series is alive? I think because the series has been so entertaining and so watchable, everyone wanted this, not to be in a dead rubber situation and not to give Glenn McGrath the satisfaction of predicting a 5-0 or whatever. Because it didn't deserve, I don't think England deserved to be 3-0 down. And there would have been all sorts of inquests about the whole philosophy underpinning the England team if England had lost. And I don't think that would be justified because if there has been, if England weren't so good before Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes took over, they were going through a losing run. This is much better, isn't it? And they have been much better,
Yes.
notwithstanding the results of the first 2 games. So I think it's great for cricket, great for Test cricket, as well as being great for England and England supporters. That the result turned out the way it was, and how fitting that the 2 W's, 2 guys who weren't involved in the first 2 defeats, were there at the end, Wokes and Wood, to see England home. I thought those 2 players had such an impact on the game.
Indeed.
And it shows the benefit of having a squad and being able to go into that squad. And Australia wouldn't have been in that winning situation if it hadn't been for a player that also didn't play in the last Test, Mitchell Marsh. So
Exactly.
It's an argument for changing, making changes, isn't it? And I hope that England don't just say, "Oh, well, we won, therefore we're going to go into the next Test unchanged." But I know you won't want to talk about that yet, so
yeah,
we're going to try on England's victory first, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about today's play a bit. So they started off with Crawley and Duckett still there, having started very well last night. Basically, Duckett didn't last particularly long, and England were 42 for 1. Then Moeen Ali came in at number 3, which was a sort of a hopeful thing, but understandable in the circumstances. Maybe he could hit a quick 50.
There have been rumours about this going around yesterday that Moeen Ali was going to come in at 3. I wonder whether it was for positive reasons, that because he might give the innings some momentum. That's possible in this attacking approach, or whether it was for negative reasons, not wanting to expose Brook at number 3, given what happened in the first innings. But I have to admit, I reached straight for my Bet365 account when I saw Moeen Ali coming in. So I thought it was the best under bet available on the day, which is I think I went straight in for Moeen to score less than 20. I was very confident he wouldn't get any more than that. I mean, the guy's not played first-class cricket for 2 or 3 years, as you were commenting on during the Test. I heard you make that point during the Test match, and and I think they were just too quick for
Oh,
him. You know,
I mean, it was
just an
bowled
idea,
by a beauty from Stark, an absolute beautiful
too quick.
ball. And yeah, so when he was out for 5, the good thing is it let Joe Root come in where he's comfortable at 4, and Harry Brook come in where he's comfortable at 5, and both of them made. Well, Harry Brook in particular make a significant contribution. Joe Root made 21. He didn't really look himself today, I didn't think. Did you?
No, he wasn't timing the ball well at all, was he?
No, no. But Harry Brook, what do you reckon to his innings?
Well, you know, he deserves plenty of accolades. His stock had fallen so steeply after his dismissals in the last Test match. I remember, although he scored a 50 at Lords, I've never heard the crowd so silent when a guy that scored 50, walks back into the pavilion
Well,
because of the manner in which he got out.
yeah, that wasn't the brightest thing ever.
So I think the relief that here is back to what we knew him for before that, which was one of the brightest prospects or one of the best new players, and to get to 1,000 runs, as you indicated earlier, the fastest player in terms of balls received, England player to get to 1,000 Test runs, and yeah, today was the day to turn it on again, and we were reminded of how good a player he is, and yeah, I was absolutely thrilled, not just because through sharing the same surname, but so I always feel more attached to him than any other player. But just I've seen how good he is, saw how good he was last year, how good he was against Pakistan, and great that he should choose today. Of course, leaping ahead just a little bit,
Yeah,
when he got out, you just thought, well, he should have seen it through rather than playing a shot that wouldn't have been out of place on the village green. But it did set up, of course there had to be another twist. There was
yeah,
never going to be a comfortable victory. There had to be another twist. And it was
yeah.
kind of, so we had everyone on the edge of their seats when he was out.
Well, he hadn't been helped by the fact that Ben Stokes went to a strangle down leg side. I guess that can happen to anybody at some stage. But Johnny Bairstow just did a Johnny Bairstow thing on 5, and he flapped at one outside the off stump and got caught in the slips. Surprise, surprise. Oh, sorry, no, he
Now,
pulled. No, that's wrong. He flapped at one outside the off stump and he pulled it onto his stumps, didn't he? That's right.
He went for the drive,
Yeah,
and wasn't without moving his feet, and
yeah,
in a manner that we used to see him when he was. Like, there seems to be either two modes that he plays. He either gets out cheaply without moving his feet, or he bats in the style that we saw him last summer. Now, if my memory serves me right, he was not keeping wicket when he scored all those big, the big contributions last summer.
no, he wasn't. No.
Yeah, I just want to get that clear. So since he's been given the gloves, it just hasn't worked out, has it? And
No.
I know there's a stubborn streak running through, the Brendan McCullum, Ben Stokes kind of setup. That's what makes them so good in a way that they stick to their guns. But
Yeah.
that surely has to be. It seems to have really unsettled Bairstow. I know he's been injured as well and has to come back from an injury, but it was a poor dismissal at that stage. When to lose Stokes and Bairstow, I think that was when Australian fans must have thought we're really back in this. They never went favourites, though. I think, as you pointed out earlier, they never actually went favourites. But with the loss of Bairstow and Stokes, you really thought, are England going to make it through? Can Harry Brook take it home? And that's where we saw Wokes arrive, and it was his innings, which initially was a bit skittish because he went for a couple of wafts, if you remember, outside the off stump early. Just thought, oh no, not again. Is Wokes going to give up his wicket cheaply? But he then seemed to knuckle down, and he seemed to work out a method of playing the short ball for Cummins, in particular, turning him around the corner without risking too much. It became a risk-free innings from Wokes after that initial skittish period. So, and then of course cometh the hour, Messi. To see Wood there at the end playing in the way that he did, he's made such an impact on the match with his electrifying bursts of pace. The spell in the first innings, and to see him come out and slam that 6 off. I think it was off Mitchell Stark.
Yes, it was. I think.
Cummins? Yeah.
No, it may have been Cummings,
because
but he's made 40 runs off 16 balls in this Test match, on top of taking 8 wickets.
amazing.
And
And whenever
Woke's innings of 32 was actually absolutely vital, wasn't it? When you think about it, I know
yeah, I mean,
Gary Naylor is wont to talk about the importance of a good number 8, but he really was a very good number 8 today, wasn't he?
he did a classic number 8 today, Messi. Yeah, well, as I say, it looked like it was going to be a short innings again in that first few balls that he faced, the swishes outside the off stump, but then he just knuckled down and played it really well. So yeah, in the best tradition of a number 8, a kind of, I don't want to say Ashley Giles is the one that sort of springs to mind, but that was a great number 8
Yeah,
innings from Wokes, and he deserves credit for seeing it through, fitting that he should score, the winning runs as well. But yeah, Woody has had a great match, and just the calmness. He took the strike at the end, didn't he? After
yeah,
hitting that 6, he then kept the strike, and yeah, in the end, it was a 3-wicket margin. Was more comfortable than it might have looked when Brook was out.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's fair to say all of us were on the edge of our seats for most of the day as it went through, because I'd anticipated England winning fairly easily, but I was clearly wrong. The other thing in terms of players in this match, I mean, Mitch Marsh obviously did really well, but we discussed him earlier. What it did bring home to me is how good Cummings and Stark are as a
Mm.
pair of fast bowlers when they're in sync. Um,
Absolutely. But did you? I bet you also would say that the other key thing that separated this match from the previous two was the absence of Nathan Lyon. Because yes,
yeah,
those two that you mentioned, Stark and Cummins, were brilliant in this match as they have been before, but they didn't. I thought Scott Boland had a disappointing game. He didn't take a wicket, and but it was the fact that uh, Cummins didn't have the same confidence perhaps in Murphy as he
yeah,
has in Lyon.
yeah,
Therefore, didn't
yeah,
bring him in when England were 100 short. Only brought him in when England needed 30,
yeah.
and just brought him in for what? Did he bowl 2
Two
overs in that
overs,
last
yeah,
spell?
for 13
So
runs. He bowled
yeah,
fine, but
it was
yeah,
as if he wasn't there. It was as if he wasn't there. I know the feeling when I've played. Never, the
yeah,
captain never turns to me until right at the end. And when you have that feeling of not being in the match, Nathan Lyon would have been on from the start. He would have got 2 or 3 wickets, wouldn't he? He's always
yeah,
contributed. He's a
inevitably,
fantastic
inevitably.
bowler, and I think perhaps not enough attention has been put on his absence being another absolutely key factor in this match.
I think that's a very good point. Apart from anything else, Nathan Lyon already has the respect of the opposition batters. So the
Mm.
thought of knocking Nathan Lyon out of the attack, for example, isn't something that most people would try to do because they know very well that they're going to pay a price for it.
Because
Um,
you've reminded me of the first innings, Messi, where when Murphy came on and was probably kept on too long.
yeah.
Stokes had that complete Stokes and Wood. I think against Murphy, was it? Or was it just
No,
Stokes? But
it was Stokes in particular. He went for 36 off 7.5 overs,
yeah,
but he got Stokes in the end. So, it's marginal, but it wasn't the sort of thing that you'd see with Lyon. Lyon, as in that innings too, would have been on much earlier and bowling
yeah.
steadily through.
Our very good friend and occasional Guerilla contributor Roland Butcher thought that made the comment that Murphy had been kept on too long, and that was the point when England, when Cummins really lost the
Yeah,
match, was when they allowed that flurry of runs from Stokes, which then closed the gap, didn't it? No one expected that first innings lead to be as few as it was. I think
yeah,
everyone expected with England's performance in the first innings for it to be in deficit, 70, 80, maybe even 100
yep,
behind. To end up being, what was it, 20, 27?
yes, that's
Um,
right.
yeah, something like that, something in that order. I don't think anyone could have expected that. And would that have happened if Nathan Lyon had been on rather than Murphy?
You wonder, don't you? You wonder. The other thing that had a huge impact on this match was having a really good cricket wicket, in my view. It made such a difference.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, it was actually quite good timing for Wood to come in for this match because he could have bowled
Mm.
his heart out at Edgbaston or Lords and had no reward for it. This was a pitch that had pace and bounce, and rewarded fast bowlers who were prepared to put the effort in. And I really hope we can see something like that at Old Trafford, because it makes for so much more excitement than watching, 4 hours of bowling short shit down the leg side in the hope that somebody makes a mistake.
Yes, because the almost stalemate was reached, wasn't it, at
Yeah,
Lords?
yeah,
That when you saw the tactics that both teams resorted to, we just thought, will we ever see
yeah.
a game of cricket again that brought in all the elements of swing and seam? And this one did. Yeah, edges carried to slips. It brought slips into play. There were some great catches by Australia, some drops by England, and although we did, of course, we should mention that we did see a drop right at the end, or was it
Yes.
a miss? Where I think it was Wokes with the Skyer down to long leg, and we saw Carey running back to attempt to take the catch, whereas Scott Bolland, it would have been a sitter for him to take, but
I
he
don't think it
didn't.
would. Looking at the replay, it was probably the right decision to leave it to Carey, because I think it was
He ran
Murphy,
a
wasn't it?
long way. No,
Yeah,
it was
but
Scott
Murphy
Bolland.
had a
It
hell of
was
a long
Scott
way
Bolland.
to go for it too. So
No, it was
it's
Bolland. It was Bolland on the boundary, and he
oh, was it
didn't.
Boland?
Honestly,
Yeah,
when you look at it again, he could have run in 5 or 10 paces and taken it comfortably. But I don't think he had the presence or the sort of confidence to say mine.
yeah,
Who's going to say that when you have got a wicketkeeper charging back? But
yeah. That's
some would
true.
say it's calm. Some would say, not me, but some would say it's calmer that the game should end with Carey, the villain, the pantomime villain, making a mistake at the end.
Yeah.
Some
Oh
would say. I
well.
wouldn't say that. I thought it was. I think, like you, I think the discussion in the last test was about the Bairstow dismissal was overdone. It's
Uh,
out of his ground and blah blah
yeah,
blah.
absolutely.
But the West Terrace would have enjoyed that. The biggest cheer of the
I
day.
have no doubt. I have no
Yeah,
doubt. But I
one of
mean,
the biggest cheers of the day.
they're a great crowd there too. I mean, they love their cricket above all else, and I think banter with the crowd's always going to be a good part of it, and they'll find whatever hook they can. It's a bit different from the members in the long room who just don't know how to behave. Um,
Absolutely right. But
yeah.
no, and great to see the crowds responding, to Test cricket, and to see Test cricket being centre stage in an English summer, not having any. We haven't had any white ball international matches to get in the way. We've had
Well, apart from
some domestic T20.
the women's Ashes, of
Yes.
course.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yes. Indeed. Yeah. I mean, that's actually worked quite well with the scheduling of those.
Yeah,
In the evening, the T20s. Yeah, that's worked out well. But generally, the crowds have come out to support Test cricket, and it's
yeah,
great to see. That's really
absolutely.
great to see.
So we're moving on from here to Old Trafford with the series still alive, which will affect the way both teams approach it, I have no doubt. What do you think of the lessons to be learned and the changes that might be made for both sides arising from this game?
Well, of course, from as far as England are concerned, you have to keep Wokes and Wood, and you have to say to Woody, we don't just want one Test match from you. You need to do that again. It's ludicrous number of Test matches he's missed, and he has to play two in a row. Um, I would take the unpopular view that just because a bowler has an end named after him, that there's not a reason to play the guy. So I don't see that Anderson's done enough to warrant a recall. I think he will be included for sentimental for reasons and all that. But I'm not sure I would play him at Old Trafford. Simple reason that I think Wokes and would deserve their place, and I don't think Stuart Broad needs to be rested. I think
Yep.
he's the leading wicket taker in the series, and if you did rest him on the basis of what we've seen so far in the series, you might go for Tongue rather than Anderson. That's an unpopular view. Most people would
What about
say,
Robinson? What do you do with him?
but he's injured, so he
So that
didn't
leaves you
bowl in the second.
a space to do something with. You could have,
Well,
because bearing in mind they went
yeah.
in with four fast bowlers and Stokes and Ali this game.
Well, no, sorry, I was coming on to my punchline, which is the
Right.
Bairstow experiment has to
Yep.
end.
Yep.
We've seen, he's too good a batsman to allow his batting to be. I mean, he's very he's got this strange temperament, hasn't he, Bairstow? So there's, in the sense that you don't know how he would respond to being told, "Oh, we just want you to bat now."
Yes, yes,
But the statistics would say, and I'll get the statistics up in a moment if you haven't got them there, that he does so much better when he's not taking the gloves, particularly in recent years. The gap between his average when he keeps and his average when he's batting, and also, but I don't think they will. England's selectors or the inner circle will make that change because of a certain streak of stubbornness, running through their selection policy. Look at
yes,
the retention of Zach Crawley, who again flattered to deceive with a nice 40, but we wanted more from one of the openers. England fans would have wanted to see more from an opener than that. So now I would, if you ask me what I would do selection wise, I would bring back Folkes, relieve Bairstow of his wicket-keeping responsibilities. He's one of England's best batsmen and one of England's worst wicket-keepers, isn't he?
yes. I think
So that
I think that's a fair way to describe it. Weirdly, the stats show that his whether he's keeper or not keeper, the average is almost exactly the same. 36.
can I just yes, can I
But,
make a rider to that? Which is
yeah.
I did qualify by saying in recent years,
Oh, yes,
and
yes,
I'm just
yes.
going to find the stats since 20 in the last 2 years. If you look at the difference between since January 2021, he's
Yeah.
averaged 22 as a keeper and 47 as a specialist batsman.
Right. Yeah.
That's
That
since January
well,
2021.
that's just massive, isn't it? There's a real story
And,
there.
and of
And
course,
the truth
that's without
is,
Messi. Sorry, one other point on that. That's looking at it in terms of his batting contribution. But
yes,
of course, his drop catches have an impact in two ways. They cost England runs, and I think it's infectious with the slip cordon. The slip cordon start dropping them as well when the keeper puts them down. So you've not only got the effect on Stokes's batting, Bairstow's batting average. You've also got the negative impact through the drop catches, which are costing England runs in the field.
well, the other thing
So it's a
is that
double whammy.
if you bring Ben Folkes, you're not just bringing in a wicket keeper. He's got a test average of 32, which is, it's more than Crawley, for example. It's a decent test batting average, and you get two for the price of one, really, if you do that, in my view.
I mean, the
And
Moeen Ali, we should just comment on the Moeen Ali experiment. I've
oh,
personally seen enough to know that he won't score more than 20
yeah,
in a test match. That's what you get from Moeen these days. I can't see him scoring more than that. I think you have to go back a long way, not just since he's played a test match, but since he's scored more than 20.
yeah,
I haven't got the figures to hand, but it's a long time since we've seen a half century, even in Moeen Ali's last,
yeah,
10
yeah.
test matches that he did play.
I
But, having said that, if England went in unchanged, apart from bringing Anderson in for Robinson, that's the more likely, given
yeah,
the makeup of the way England have gone so far. I think what we're more likely to see is them keeping faith with Bairstow, keeping faith with Moeen Ali, and making that one change of Anderson in for Robinson. But
yeah.
ask you about Australia, Messi. Would you keep Mitchell Marsh rather than Cameron Green, given how good a game Mitchell Marsh has had? Would you keep him, or would you find room for both, as you indicated earlier?
I, I'd love to be able to find room for both, and I'm conscious of the fact that Josh Hazelwood didn't have a particularly good game. Um, I also
I
tend
didn't
to.
play.
Oh, sorry, not. No,
Give him a chance. Uh,
Boland.
um,
Boland didn't.
Scott Boland. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, the person I'd really like to see is Michael Nisa, but he's not part of the squad.
yes. No, well,
Uh,
they've released him, but they said that he's rejoining the squad for Old Trafford.
oh, have they
So
said
I'd
that? I
like to
haven't
see
said.
him too. Yes, they have.
I
Yeah, they've
think he,
given
I
him
think he'd
some.
be ideal. I really
Yeah,
do.
right.
And if that's the case, then you really haven't got room for both Cameron Green and Mitchell Marsh. So I think you might find that Cameron Green's hamstring needs a little longer to rehabilitate. Uh, I wouldn't be at all surprised. I mean, frankly, I've reached the conclusion that, well, I had some time earlier, that Warner is past his best. He just can't deal with really fast bowling. And I think he's head fucked by Broad. I really do. But I still think they'll probably stick with him for the rest of the series because he has done great things, but not so much in England. But, he did reasonably well at Lords and in the World Test Championship final as well. So he can make a contribution, but I have no great expectations of him. I'm going to have to start wrapping this up, actually, Dave, because reached the time limit on my free Zoom calls. So I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you for our listeners, our watchers, for being with us. If you like this, please click the like and subscribe buttons below. We very much welcome your comments, either below this video or on our Twitter stream at Guerilla Cricket. We're doing this obviously in conjunction with Ricky Ponting's wines. And to get a 15% discount, you can click on the link below and use the code GCAshes2023 to get 15% off any of Ricky Ponting's wines. And we will, I'm exhausted. It's been a fantastic day. We'll be back with you on Wednesday week for the fourth test from Old Trafford. But until then, I think we'll all need a little time to take a breath. And thank you so much for being with us, Dave. It's been a joy.
Thank you, Messerson. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, mate. Good night, everybody.
And now it's time for Guerilla, a roundup. They'll let you know